people ask me all the time, Simone, like, how do you get all these opportunities? I was like, you should see the amount of opportunities I'm given in the back end of the email, right?
Yeah,
so you're
okay.
just seeing what comes to me as a result of like, give with that open heart, give to male, give to female, be happy for everyone. Because guess what? The whole world is happier. There's more peace.
Yes.
So just be happy for everyone.
Welcome to Soul Food, a conversation that celebrates the flavors, stories, and journeys that shape us. In each episode, I sit with someone who's carving their own path in life, and we talk about the moments and the mindsets that made them. I hope their stories can inspire you in unexpected ways. Today, I'm with Simone Heng. Simone is an award-winning author, public speaker, and human connection specialist. We'll dive into what that actually means later, but it wasn't always that way. She actually had a very successful career as a media personality. She left the glitz and glamour of that world to care for her mother, who tragically suffered from a stroke. And so while today I'm really interested to talk about big topics like loneliness, connection, and why actually more and more of us are more and more lonely and what we should maybe do about that, I want to talk about it in the context of Simone's own experiences, because I think it's her personal stories that have obviously shaped her very unconventional career path or even life path, and led to the success that she is today. So thank you so much for joining me, Simone.
Thank you for having me.
You're like the busiest person I know.
No, not at all. Not like I feel like I am completely incompetent compared to my friends who work and have kids. Being an auntie is amazing, but it's also like a window into. I get a lot of Netflix time and a lot of nap time compared to be with kids.
I'm happy for you. Enjoy the Netflix.
I just don't post the naps on IG stories because they're not very interesting for people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for making time today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So yeah, like I said, before we dive into these big topics, which, you're obviously working in, you're an expert in the field now of loneliness, connection, I wanted to know more about your story. So, where did you start? Because your path is so unique, and that's really what this podcast is about. It's about spotlighting people who have actually carved a very unique path in life. So tell me about yourself. Where did it all begin?
Where did it all begin? So I was born here in Singapore to a Chinese dad and Eurasian mum. I feel I have to explain that because everyone thinks I'm half Australian, and it's important when we talk about my mum's story that people understand she's Singaporean, because a lot of, I guess, the issues in our relationship as mother and daughter are uniquely Singaporean. And I was probably one of the first people to kind of speak out about it and not from behind the veil of anonymity. And that took a lot of balls to do. So I was born here. My parents migrate to Australia when I'm 3 to Perth. And then I'm raised there. And then at 18, I get this scholarship to go to Switzerland and study. And then when I come back from Switzerland, my dad gets diagnosed with terminal cancer and dies within 90 days. And I watch him pass in front of me. And that kind of derails my internal life, okay? I'm writing the second book at the moment, which is all about this. So I guess it's fresh on the top of my mind. So externally, I guess things look normal-ish to people, but internally I'm not okay. And I don't have the tools to deal with the grief because culturally, the way that the aunties and uncles and even my mum told us to express or grieve was kind of like push it all deep down inside you, stop talking about it and move on with your life.
Carry on.
Yes. And for some of us who are like highly sensitive people like I am, 30% of the population are HSPs, pushing down your feelings does really unhealthy things to your emotional and mental state. So this goes on for years, and I use, I guess, an addiction to work and validation and achievement to try and fill the grief of not having dad.
Okay.
And so this takes me all the way to working for Richard Branson in Dubai, working on Virgin Radio, which is now a very successful station. But at the time, we literally were in studios that had like sand in the faders. Like I was part of the starting core team. And then suddenly after 5 years of, experiencing this success in the Middle East, I get a call from my sister that my mum has had this, tragic stroke.
Okay.
And
how old were you at that time?
29.
You were 29, okay.
So it's almost exactly a decade after dad. And so I have not dealt with any of the grief of dad.
Yep.
Because I was told that's not necessary. You just move on with your life. Move on.
You're
move
strong.
on.
Yep,
let it go. Move on. Right. Like that's the grief therapy of our generation of, I guess, Singaporean parented kids. And then I go back to take care of mum because I'd always been told, we don't put our people in nursing homes. You must give up your whole life for me. Your father's gone. I need you. So it was my mother programmed us from very young.
Yeah, and it's that sense of responsibility, I feel.
It's
as
a
well.
sense
Like,
of, and that filial piety and
you cannot just walk away.
Filial obligation.
Yeah.
But actually, now that I study human connection and human evolution and tribes and things, it's absolutely ridiculous actually to give up your whole life as the offspring for the generation that comes before. It actually goes against kind of evolution. So that's how strong culture is.
Yeah.
Culture is so powerful that it sometimes goes against the way we're biologically wired. We should be wired that the offspring should thrive.
The next
yes, yeah, because they will outlive the previous generation, but not in our culture. And that was always held up by both the Chinese side and the Eurasian side of my family, that the family was gospel. What family said went. Whatever advice you got about mental health from family, even though they might not be skilled in that area, you must listen to it. It's like Moses down the mountain etched in the tablet, like it's law. And so that was really traumatizing. I spent 1.5 years taking care of mum, but it wasn't just the taking care of mum. It was the hoarding disorder that she had acquired after dad's death. So cleaning up the house on my own, as well as the trauma of seeing someone who's an incredibly powerful woman. People say to me, Simone, like, you're so embodied, you're so strong. I get that from her.
Okay.
And to see her so diminished was incredibly traumatizing. And then all the family toxicity that comes about when someone becomes disabled in your family. And so finally I walked into a psychiatrist and I was like, I'm having memory gaps, like something is wrong with me.
Okay.
And he said, well, you're in fight or flight. Do you know what that is? And it's in the book, he had to explain to me what stress actually was. And so I realized, even though I'd gone to a slower environment like Perth, the threat within that family environment had sent me into this kind of state where I wasn't functioning. And he said, you need to go back to an environment where you can do what you do. You were not born to be a carer. That's not actually what you're good at. And my hat goes off to every carer on this planet. It is, people say, okay, being a mother is like being a carer, but being a carer to someone who's aging, who's cognitively not there, who can say really cruel things, you've got to be a next level, properly trained human to manage the psychological challenge of that. And it's ironic now because everyone is in their 40s and I was 10, 11 years younger and no one understood. No one. It was the most isolating, lonely experience of my life, which is why there's a book now about it. But the blessing of that is now that everyone else is going through it so many years later, losing their parents or having sick parents, I'm able to actually talk to people about this without it being a taboo subject. And newsflash, we are in an aging population.
We are.
So there's going to be so many single unmarried women like me shouldering as the Asian daughter in that environment over the brothers oftentimes, that responsibility. So I did not go back to Dubai, even though I wanted to. I was like, I've got to go back to where I can do something, but I need to fulfill my filial obligation.
Yeah.
So Singapore was not actually my desirous choice.
Okay.
So I came back and got a job at local radio, which is where I met you.
Yes.
I flew every 90 days. So every single part of my annual leave while I was at that radio job was back to Perth to be with mum, and often greeted with a lot of ingratitude. Mum doesn't speak very much anymore, but that was around the time where she was still verbal, but the brain was kind of crumbling. So, you'd be on annual leave and you're like taking verbal punishment at the same time, which anybody who takes care of any parent who's going through a really tough time like that, and my heart goes out to my mother, they understand what that's like to be trying to do your best, but to be greeted by sometimes verbal abuse. It's really difficult. Yeah. And that's part of caring for someone with a, cognitive illness.
Yes.
And so that went on until I couldn't tahan anymore. I couldn't take working in a really tough industry and company and dealing with no real respite.
Okay.
And I knew about 1.5 years into that 4-year contract, I had to do something. Like this is not tenable. This level of stress is not tenable. And And I knew that because my body was just constantly in fight or flight. Like I was so skinny. I was always, having, bad internal like health. I was getting sick all the time.
Yeah.
So I always wanted to be a speaker, and I knew I could speak. But when you're a presenter, you don't get to say anything of substance. You have a third-party agenda, and this is pre-podcasting. And I knew I really wanted to do something valuable. If God or the universe gave me the gift of a voice, I wanted to actually say something of value.
Okay.
I was sick of being a puppet, like a pretty doll that had, I'm not saying I'm so pretty, I probably was back then, but I was treated that way. Like, please don't give your opinion. Just
you say this
be
scripted,
a mouthpiece.
Scripted thing
exactly.
That we want you
and
to
don't ad lib. You're not, and really you're not intelligent. We don't need this, right? And I was starting to believe that. Like the more you get treated that way, you start
it becomes
to
your
believe.
reality.
Yes, exactly. 15 years of it, it becomes your reality.
Yep.
And so I knew it was time to change. So I was on an EP in Singapore because I was born here but renounced citizenship. So my only option for this plan, and I planned it, was they monitor everything. You are connected to an employment pass and you don't want to leave Singapore. So what you need to do is you need to study the topic, and the next occupation is if it's a university degree. So for 2.5 years on the side of that full-time job, every hour I wasn't on air, I was studying, taking courses, reading books. And then
so what were you studying?
Human connection.
Human connection, okay.
And I was interviewing people on it, but then I was also studying the craft of speaking and the business of being a professional speaker and having an expertise business, and how you build that and how you keep that running, and marketing and all of those things. Okay. And so then I victoriously ended my contract, incorporated my business, employed myself under the incorporated business, and had saved a little bit of cash and knew that I had to become profitable immediately in order to stay in Singapore. And that was a huge amount of pressure. And then the pandemic hit 6 months into setting up those. And I was like, what did I do in another life to deserve this level of stress? Lost my hair from the stress of the pandemic,
really?
Yeah, that's why we have a pixie crop and a hairline tattoo. And used everything that I learned, because something did go in my favor in that human connection after the first 8 months of the pandemic became the most in-demand speaking topic in the world. And then I was like, oh, like Dad is looking out for me. Like it isn't like it can't be all these punches to the face. Like how many punches to the face can I take?
I really feel that. Sometimes, because I've been running a business as well for 13 years, and sometimes I've looked at my husband who runs a business with me, and things are going, something will happen and another thing will happen and another thing will happen. And I'll be like, when you think it can't get any worse, like it gets worse. It's like it's a new level of worse. But then somehow like a door always opens. And I spoke to my dad about this because my dad ran a business and he's like a pioneer generation guy. He's like in his late 70s now. He went from nothing to, running a multi-million-dollar chocolate business in Changi Airport, but he didn't even finish school. So I really want to get him on the podcast, but he keeps refusing. But anyway,
the pioneer generation don't like to be important. They're like, we did enough. We're going to lean back.
Yeah. He's like, let me enjoy my day. But he's always said like the universe or God or whatever it is you believe in, if you keep doing the right thing, something will open for you. And it's happened to him in his business many times. And it's happened to me personally and in my business many times. And when you said that, I just was like, it's like, I don't know if it's a guardian angel or if it's the universe or whatever it is you believe in, but sometimes things happen in such a serendipitous way that you can't be explained.
Completely. And I think for you, like, how beautiful to have your business partner to talk to. Like I have, like your husband, like I've wished so many times that I had someone that I could talk to. But I think I've created that now. But during the pandemic, it was hard. We couldn't. so I found a lot of girls doing a similar sort of business in Australia and other markets.
Yep.
And now that we're all released into the wild to speak, like it's really great. Like sometimes we're on the same events and we get to catch up, which is really
connection.
great. Because
I think one thing you touched upon is like, you were running a business by yourself. And I think being an entrepreneur, being actually a leader is something that can be very lonely. Is that true that you see, entrepreneurship? Whenever I meet a small business owner, by the way, they're like, it's just so lonely. I've just got no one to talk to and no one understands. So is that something that
I
seen?
did. And I joined some professional associations and places where I thought I could find that.
Yeah.
And what I quickly found is because I'm so visible and I look so strong, like I've got all my stuff together, which I absolutely do not, and who does, by the way, I found that no one really wanted to meet up with me to be friends. They wanted to meet up with me to get free coaching or to find out some stuff.
Okay.
And that was heartbreaking. But I have found some amazing women, and they're in other parts of the world and we have to do it via Zoom.
Yeah.
And that's totally okay. For me, it's better than nothing. And I have really good girlfriends. But it was incredibly lonely. I remember the first 6 months of the pandemic, I had a Google alert set up for the term human connection. I read every single article. You can literally look at the Google Analytics for that topic, okay? Like this, and then the pandemic, and it was like this.
Yeah.
And I was on an IKEA desk in a 1-bedroom apartment, and I built that business like by myself. And there wasn't even a puppy then. It was incredibly I don't know how I did it, actually. Yeah. Do you look back at some parts of your business, you go, how did I do that?
Yeah, it's that naivety in a way that you don't know what you're doing, so you don't know what you're doing wrong, but you just kind of get it done. Like,
completely. Like, how did I have faith that we would make enough money and we would do really well, and then you won't be sent back to Australia in this pandemic. Yeah. And then eventually, before the end of the pandemic, I got my PR on the first try.
Oh, wow.
I'm the only person I know.
Yeah.
And that changed everything. My stress state.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
You have security.
You have security. Yeah. I'm not building something where I have to be ejected. But I did. I had to screenshot my business accounts for the government during the pandemic to retain my EP. Like it was hard. But, we did really well. I made my radio annual salary in the first 90 days of my business.
Amazing.
From just learning the marketing and LinkedIn marketing and being relentless.
Amazing. Because the way that you've talked about it, you were very planned. You spent years studying what you're going to become, which is a human connection specialist. And you did all that in your spare time.
Babe, it was Shawshank Redemption. Andy Dufresne in the cell, chipping at the wall. Yeah. I was like, you're going to Andy Dufresne this. Yeah, so we're talking 2.5 years on the side of the radio studying, and then 1.5 years in the part of the pandemic where we couldn't go anywhere. So that was like a university degree on the side, and then a book popped out,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was and it was Andy Dufresne. I should have a poster of Andy Dufresne in my office instead of my photo with Tarman. It should be Andy, like AI Andy and me.
Yeah. You talked a little bit about, turning points, right? You talked about, experiencing that extreme loneliness with your mum for that first time as quite a young person. Losing your dad as well, then 10 years later, and then your mum, the pandemic and the loneliness of starting a business and navigating that yourself. Were there any other sort of pivotal turning points that really pushed you to do what you do now, which is, I think you're on a mission to help people connect with other human beings, right?
Yeah, I think on a very practical sense, at the time when I started choosing the topic that I wanted to be the conduit for in the world, my mum was having massive issues with memory.
Okay.
So self-connection, which is the subject of my second book, is the awareness of one's own state at any given time. Okay. So not only did she have no awareness of her state, so she didn't know what day or time it is or what she was feeling, she also was losing memories. So she forgot that my dad died, for example. And she's like, where's your father? And that was really heartbreaking. And learning how to talk to someone with memory loss about those things is also really another topic for another day. But I could see how, as she lost the connection with herself, the amount of visitors reduced.
Right. Okay.
So that was such a great analogy for we don't connect with other people when we don't have self-connection. So that was happening. At the same time, I was working in a toxic workplace, and I could see the effect to corporates of innovation, of productivity, of retention. Because I'd worked at other radio stations in the UAE. I worked for Virgin Radio for 5 years. I worked for Southern Cross Austereo in Australia. And I could see the difference in the quality of our product versus what was coming out of the speakers here. And I knew that that was to do with the fact that the back end, the way the clicks worked and the way the bullying and the sabotaging was happening at the radio station was having a clear effect on the freedom to speak and therefore the freedom to be creative.
Okay.
Right? There was no psychological safety. So failure
Yep.
was met with shaming. So all of that. So that was happening all at the same time. And then one night I did an on-air contest, and a girl called Mei Xuan sent a voice note in, and I said, okay, name your favorite superpower to win tickets to this superhero movie. And Mei Xuan, who sounded Gen Z, said, it doesn't sound like something fancy, but I feel everyone's very cold to each other in this day and age. And I really want to be able to connect with another person deeply one-on-one. And that, I remember downloading that, emailing it to myself.
Yeah.
And that sent me on that, I'm neurodivergent. So if you give me a bee in my bonnet that I'm curious about, I will run with it.
Yeah.
And that I ran with that, and then realized that there was this loneliness epidemic that was specifically prominent amongst people who are digital natives who didn't have an analog childhood.
Yeah.
So these three things kept me going and doing all the research, which I think most people who do what I do find boring.
Okay.
But I'm a nerd,
Yeah. I thought it was really interesting you said that girl Mei Xuan said that connecting with another human being was a superpower, because I think in, previous generations, even when I was growing up as a kid, before we had phones and things like that, that's what you did. In your spare time, you'd speak to your neighbor and you'd hang out on the street.
Or your aunties and people just come over
and you just
unannounced.
talk to them face to face. But nowadays, actually, people don't do that, and I feel that people are now shying more and more away from doing that. And so, I think it's something that people know. People are getting more and more lonely, but it's like, what are we supposed to be doing about it? And what would you suggest for, like, say I'm a mom, I have young kids, and they're growing up in this world which is very, very digital. What are things that we can do to help them navigate this as they grow up?
Well, for really young kids, I think the first thing, it's the modeling of the behavior, right? So you, if you're saying kids put the phone down when they're 10, but they're young now, and they remember you when they're 4 and 7, the age they are now, and that you were not present and you were on the phone, there's no way they're going to listen to you.
Yeah.
So the modeling is number one. Number two, it's understanding that giving the iPad as the babysitter is, it's changing the nature of their brain, right? So the stimulus they're getting, the dopamine, the inability to weather boredom well, to be still, like, this is true. And the third thing is getting them to have synchronous activities.
Okay.
So
what
Jonathan,
do you mean?
So I'm going to go into I credit Jonathan Haidt. Every person who's a mother listening should read The Anxious Generation. My girlfriends are like, it freaks me out. Can you just give this top notes, please?
Okay, yeah.
Just give the broad stroke notes.
Yeah.
So here is my broad stroke note. It's like Bible size. So my broad stroke biggest takeaway from this for my work is about the difference between synchronous and asynchronous communication.
Okay.
So asynchronous communication is where you can wait 72 hours to respond. Text-based communication is asynchronous.
Okay.
It's not happening at the same time. This goes against the way we were wired as human beings and tribes. We did things together. We danced around campfires. We drummed things together, and we sang in choir together as human history went on, and we did things in real time. This also gave us the skills to navigate difficult conversations, to have conflict and heal them. And now what we have is much more avoidant communication. Because it's asynchronous, you hide behind the phone. You can take 1 week to reply to your friend, or you can just completely ghost them if you feel too cowardly to have that conversation. And so we need to give younger people the skills to have that synchrony, because it's part of connection. When we're with someone like you and I right now, we're co-regulating each other. We're connecting, and some people do it better than others, and they're the super connectors. But we are, our everything is mirroring up, our neurons, everything is mirroring up for us to connect. And when young people don't have that, when they're lonely, they then don't have the skills to solve that. So all these chat GPT, AI companion suicides.
Yes.
A lot of it is to do with the fact that I don't know how to soothe myself now with real life human connection. I don't know if anyone will even pick up the phone if I'm in distress. People might just get back to me when they want in 3 days.
Right.
But I feel immense pain that I want to end right now. So who can I talk to? Oh, the AI companion's there on demand. ChatGPT is there on demand.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean that those things are programmed with your best interests at heart.
Okay.
So number one, I would work on my children's connection skills. I would put them into synchronous activities where they have to sync up in real time. Orchestra, band, choir, sports, communicating in real time where the stakes are high, where there could be conflict.
Okay. How does communicating in real time help you deal with things like loneliness that you may have to then navigate alone one day? Like what are those skills that you're supposed to learn?
So you're learning how to firstly manage conflict in real time. Managing conflict well in relationships is what sustains friendships. So a lot of Gen Zs say that they don't have deep relationships. So it's just surface level stuff. Now we get to a deeper relationship by being vulnerable or having a conflict, repairing it. That's how marriages get made stronger, right? But if your child doesn't have synchronous activities and they're just on their own talking at infinity with friends online but never meeting in person, they're not going to get those repair skills. Okay. They're also losing the art of charm. I think that's going to be my third book. Charm has gotten this immigrant little girl from Perth into rooms you cannot imagine. That ability to be witty, that ability to have rapport, to make jokes. Okay. You don't get that by a reply that you chat GPT to be witty and write in an hour later to reply to someone to be witty on text. That's also a skill, by the way. But that doesn't help us to leap forward in a future. If you want your child to win the future, they've got to zig where everyone is zagging. And everyone is zagging towards AI dependency for critical thinking, for communication skills.
Since we're talking about AI and, you know, people are now having AI friends, they have AI partners, even AI spouses. They come home from work and they talk to a lady on the screen or a man, and that's their extent of relationship. And some people say that it's great because I can have this person who provides for my every need and responds to me in a way that I've programmed them to respond, to tell me things that I want to hear at the end of a day. But also it's dangerous because then who are you actually talking to? You're talking to a projection that you've made of yourself. It's confusing to me, right? What do you think real human connection looks like in this world, which is going to go AI, and AI is going to be part of everybody's future? And it's going to probably exponentially be part of everybody's future. What does human connection look like, and where is the place for that?
I think with a future of AI, anything done with the human touch moves higher up the value chain. So real in-life authentic human connection becomes more precious. So I see where we're going with it is more in-person events. A focus on human connection in real life. So we're seeing people turning away from dating apps already for in-person dating. We're seeing people, Gen Z, trading in their smartphones for analog, not analog phones, but just those dumb phones.
First gen.
The opposite of smartphone, dumb phones, because of the impact to their mental health of social media on smartphones. So again, that goes back to what I mentioned about mum, in that if your mental health is bad, that connection with yourself, what's happening inside isn't good, you're not going to be making friends and connecting well with others. So that link is clearly there.
And some people might say, like, why is it important that I have connection with others? I'm perfectly happy being alone. I like being alone. I like my peace and quiet. Like, why should I care about connecting with other human beings?
So firstly, all human beings on a spectrum need a quota of human connection. It's just different compared on your introversion or extroversion. So firstly, people who don't know that, who are saying that, are probably unaware a little bit about physiology and and some basic facts. Loneliness, the absence of real human connection, has huge effects to our physical and mental health. Most people know about loneliness is the petri dish for mental health issues like depression, anxiety. But what a lot of people don't realize is the effect of loneliness on physical health. So when we were in the tribe, evolving as early humans, we had connection. It made us safe. It allowed us to thrive beyond all the other early human species. And it also allowed us to solve problems together. So it ensured our survival. Hence, it got baked down to our DNA, cellular level, that we want to be in connection. Okay. Now, that's our natural state. Our natural state has not changed, but our environment has become highly digitized. And so now when we're lonely, we still perceive that absence of human connection as possible threat. So therefore, a saber-toothed tiger could kill you. In my case, back in Australia, it was I didn't feel safe in the extended family system. And so that made me go into fight or flight because loneliness is the gap between the kind of like connection and the amount of connection you want and the kind of amount you're getting. So you can be surrounded by toxic people and feel very lonely. So just to foreground that. And also what would happen if we were abandoned in the tribe on the savannah, for example, is we would die pretty quickly. So now when we're lonely, we still get the fight or flight response and then stress hormones through the body. Incidental loneliness, so people who go, I broke up with my boyfriend, I feel a bit lonely.
Yeah.
That's just the body's alarm to go out and make friends and connect and be in connection.
Yeah.
People, and what we're seeing now with the statistics, people are feeling chronically lonely for years on end, which means these stress hormones are breaking down the body, leading to a lot of life-shortening conditions, cardiovascular disease being the most prominent of them. So that's how it shortens your lifespan by like 15 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, because I think like when people talk about loneliness, they think, oh, I'm just, maybe I'm not with someone, but actually you can be with a lot of people and be feeling lonely because it's that gap that you described.
Your brother lives in Hollywood.
Yes.
Ask Desmond about the lonely people in Hollywood.
Yeah.
People who are leaders, people who are famous.
Yep.
If they don't have the right people around them, it can be incredibly lonely. I watched a documentary on one of my speaking trips on the plane about the last days of Matthew Perry's life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now that's someone who could have opted to have a lot of people around them, but for whatever reason didn't find those people, probably Gabor Mate, an addiction expert, believes that a lack of connection is the basis for addiction. There's a whole chapter in my book about it.
Yeah.
So he formed an addiction to quell the feeling of loneliness and lack of connection. And then in his final days was surrounded by people who didn't have his best interest at heart.
Yeah. I mean, I see that. And I see that in successful people, they're not necessarily happy and they're not necessarily feeling fulfilled, I think, by the relationships that they have. So if I am struggling with loneliness, what are some easy things that I could do today to help me move forward and hopefully build a life that is less lonely day by day? Because I'm assuming that you can't, it's not a magic fix that you can, click your fingers and you're going to be okay. But what are some easy things that I could do today that would help me?
So firstly, particularly, I assume a lot of the people who listen to you probably have families.
Yep.
So they're busy spouses and they have kids. And I think this big fallacy that your family unit is enough is just wrong. We were born to be in a village atmosphere with grandparents, with cousins, with friends beyond our marriage.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me. I mean, my friends are really good. They're married and stuff. They always make time for me.
Yeah.
But there's a hell of a lot of people that don't. That nuclear family was produced by marketeers as an accounting unit to market things to like American 2+2 families during the 50s.
Yeah. And everyone can have a dishwasher. And
it's very, it's very individualistic.
Okay.
We weren't meant to be living like that. We aren't meant to be living like that. And when a crisis happens, like a death in the family, or recently I've been going through some tough time, and my inner circle of 5 besties, they were all going through even tougher stuff than me.
Okay.
And emotionally intelligent people, I'm not going to go to you about my problem when your father is diagnosed with terminal cancer, right? And then so I had the rest of the village. I had the outer ring of girls who were newer friends who stepped in to help me.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, how do people that don't cultivate a village go through this? And we see this all the time at middle age. Someone who only stayed with their husband or their wife, and then the divorce happens.
Mm.
And they have no idea how to function or make friends, to rebuild.
Yeah.
So safeguard yourself now, build the village is number one. If you're like, I'm so busy, when am I going to build the village, Simone?
Yep.
I want you to open up your calendar. And I want you to set a recurring calendar reminder monthly to at least once a month do something beyond the family unit. That's your friends.
Yep.
And if you are like, I don't have anyone who is a friend to do that, find a hobby group. So I talk about collective connection in chapter 2 of the book.
Yep.
Find a hobby group of mutual interest. So if you're really, really I'm into painting, that's my hobby.
Okay.
I'll go to a painting class
Yeah.
and maybe I meet someone at the painting class. And I still show up when the Australian High Commission invite me to events. I go and I meet amazing new friends. And so showing up, we live in an era of cancellation.
Yeah.
Showing up.
Okay.
And pushing through. Sometimes I've been really fatigued. Like I'm busy. Like I'm like you. We're all busy.
You're
all
flying
busy,
all over the
right?
place.
But sometimes I do. And I think it's that immigrant girl grit. I'm like, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
But I will show up. And then that's always the night that I meet a new friend who's like freaking amazing.
That's true. I've never regretted like going for the thing, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's so tempting to just be like, I just can't make it. I'm just like up to here with everything in life. But I've never regretted going to one of those things.
For good connection, it just changes your state.
Yeah.
It just goes, oh my God, that thing that I was worrying about, by having to cut that cord and put myself into a different environment where I've cognitively had to make that shift.
Yeah.
And now I feel so much better.
And people might be watching this or listening to this and saying, okay, well, Simone seems like quite an extroverted, bright, bubbly type of person. Of course she likes to go out and meet people, but I am really not comfortable doing that. I don't know how to make connections with other people. Is human connection something that's innate? Is it something that we all have, or it's something that could we learn? Can we learn it if someone's feeling really not confident about just going out and connecting with others? And how can we learn it?
Absolutely. So I've always loved people, but as we get older, we become more introverted. So, I don't put on IG stories my Netflix on the bed with the dog time.
Yeah.
But in between all the engagements of meeting people, there definitely is that. And we become more introverted with age because we are wired to be more socially promiscuous in our 20s, to pair off and mate.
Okay.
So if you are finding yourself like in your 40s, you're like, I don't want to make new friends. I don't want to. You're more going for quality. Okay. So firstly, now let's loop back to the warmth and charm. This can all be learned. So and Natasha, I don't know if you relate. You look like you've been stunning from the day you came out of the womb, so you might not relate. But, I was a very unattractive teenager, very, very good at school, kind of nerdy, but was dealing, with a family system where I was put down a lot. Okay. So I had, I guess, to build this confidence at school, and I write about this in the book, in order to get the grades that my mother demanded at home while feeling inside like a total piece of crap. And so I guess the extroversion started as an overcompensation in order to like win the public speaking prize or win the drama prize, to just get the grades so that I wouldn't get a hard time at home. Okay. And then the masking becomes innate. And so I learned that it is an ability. And recently I've been reading up on charisma. And this is this is by the author of a book called The Charisma Myth. Charisma is the combination of warmth, presence, and power. Okay. You look at anybody that people are magnetized towards, it's your Obamas, your Bill Clintons. Yep. What is different about them from a Trump or a Putin? They are warm. And Australia gave me warmth. That is my secret weapon. When I, Singaporeans were not known for our warmth. And that was the one thing that I knew that I could do differently, was warmth is natural to me. So you can learn it. So look at yourself, ask your 3 best friends, give me a rating of warmth, power, and presence out of 10. Yep. And then work on what you need to improve on. And then put that mask on just as you're getting your social muscles when you have to go to these networkers, right? No one's asking you to be fake, but you're never going to be at the rapport building stage where you're meeting a stranger to build a friendship. So you're doing the small talk, you're doing the rapport. You're not meant to be the level of comfort you are with your bestie that knows, your divorce secrets. Yep. You're not meant to go into the network and be that. There is a normal passage that we go through. We build rapport first. Yep. We build rapport by emphasizing our commonalities with a person. And then from there, we take from small talk as a gateway into deeper connection. But in all of that, charisma helps. Yeah.
And I feel it comes with practice, right? You have to go out and you just talk to people and you get better at talking to people. Because actually I was a very shy person. Like I'd say prep to grade 6, I didn't speak at school. It got to the point where my teachers one day came to my house and they were poking around my house and asking my parents all kinds of questions to see if there was some kind of like something nefarious going on.
Stop. This is so funny.
Because I wouldn't speak right. And they're like, oh, like, what do you do? And the mum was like, she speaks fine. She speaks all the time at home. She's like, Natasha, speak, say something, you know? But what was I saying? I think like it comes with practice. And because then
Yes.
in senior school, they forced me to join the debate team. And I joined the debate team and I hated it, but I got good at it because it was better to be good at debating than be really bad at it and still have to do it and stand up there with
Yeah.
nothing to say. So I practiced it and I practiced doing it. And then now I'm hosting podcasts, which I never thought I would do, which just involves talking,
Absolutely.
right? So
that's
I
growth
think
mindset.
you can do it step by step by step by step. Even if it feels very unnatural to you, one day it'll start to feel a little bit more natural.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
like when I used to coach public speaking for
Yeah.
people. I really believe that if we focused our attention on anything we really wanted to get better at,
Yep.
and we just did put in the hours,
Yep.
you know, that's I was an okay speaker before when I was in the media industry, but I was just winging it off the natural stuff.
Yeah.
But when I learned the back end of it, like read every book on it and did rhetoric courses and learned how to
Yeah.
wire, I mean, that's when people can't catch you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's unfortunately boring, hard, laborious work.
Yeah. It's very
And it's just
unglamorous.
part of the AI can't do that for you. It's
Yeah.
very unglamorous.
Yeah, it has to become internal. I wanted to ask you a question about food and connection, actually, because, you know, you
Yeah.
talked about growing up in tribes. And I think obviously, you know, humans, there's so much of our culture and our identity and our connection actually wrapped up in food. And even the way we reach out to people, it's like, you want to catch a coffee,
Yeah.
you want to go out for dinner. It's quite rare that people are like, oh, do you want to go and like do something non-food actually?
Yeah.
It's like it's an event to do something non-food. What's your view on kind of, you know, meal times and food and connection? And can food be a great connector?
Food is, along with music and sport,
Yep.
probably one of the top 3 commonalities to connect with people on.
Yep.
It's part of our basic physiological needs. So anybody and every strata of this world needs food to survive.
Yes.
So particularly in Asia, it's incredibly powerful connector. I always, when I go to speak for multinational corporations and there's mixed teams, foreigners and locals,
Yeah.
I say, you want to bond with your local colleague, ask them to tell you the best place to eat and why,
Yep.
and start that as a conversation. I think food is incredibly powerful for Asians because it's also the way in which we demonstrate love.
Yes.
So
That's it.
my dad, for example, would peel every white string off the mandarin
Yeah.
wedge to give to us as little
Aw.
girls, or, you know, the giving of the best piece of meat.
Yes.
I think it's the most beautiful thing about being Asian, and people who aren't, they don't really, they don't get it.
They don't get the love in the cut plate of fruits.
And
you
it's
know?
yeah, and it's even how we serve it. So I have
Yeah.
another girlfriend. She's mixed like me, but spent just like me early adulthood in Indonesia
Yeah.
before moving here. We went for dinner on the weekend. It doesn't matter what the cuisine, you know, we'll sit down and I always know she'll serve first.
Yep.
Then the next round I serve her.
Yep.
And it's an orchestra. It's a symphony. And I lost that growing up in Australia.
Okay.
I stopped. I didn't do that because it was
Yeah.
weird for other people. I'm so glad I have that back. But when I do go, I spend a lot of time in Switzerland because I used to study there, and
Yeah.
my Swiss family have stepped in, like my surrogate family, now that
okay.
my parents
Yeah,
are
amazing.
kind of gone.
Yeah.
And they always are like, the first few days, like, you have to stop doing this, like just serve yourself.
Right.
But it's actually very difficult to unwire. So it isn't just the food, talking about your favorite dish as a conversation starter. It's saying, my coded behavior, that I know how to do this with you.
Yeah.
We are in synchrony. We're in synchrony. We're talking about her kids and the school Mandarin exams at school, and
Yeah.
and it's just second nature.
Yeah. And it's that connection too. Because I feel that nowadays we are so busy. I feel that, you know, you have a family, you have kids. Sometimes people are eating breakfast at different times. They come home, they've got after school activities, you're eating dinner at different times, and you've missed that mealtime connection where people used to sit at the table together, look at each other in the eye, even if you're just the family, and share what you're doing. But I think now, like, people have tuition, they've got, you know, people are working late, you've got calls with Europe, and we're missing that connection even in our homes. So I feel that that's something that we really need to work really hard, and especially being in the food business myself,
Yeah.
I want to work really hard to bring that back, to make mealtime a proper thing about connection. Yeah.
Well, a couple of things. Firstly, you've made me feel a lot better because most
Yeah.
of my meals I'm facing my dog. I'm
Yeah.
on my own, right? So it's good to know that married people also
No,
are like dealing
everyone's
with
got their
this
own
lack
schedule.
of synchrony.
Yep.
But the second thing is, look, they went to the blue zones. They went to Sardinia. And this is where the people live the longest. And yet they are eating the diet, which most of us would consider really fatty. That's like refined carbohydrates. They're making gnocchi. Like it's stuff that we think causes cancer in the Western world or in the rest of the world. So why does it allow them to live so long and doesn't give them conditions like diabetes and all of this stuff? And they worked out that the people living in that particular blue zone, because not only is the harvesting of the ingredients of food done in connection, they also are making the food together, all the nonas together.
Yep.
Then everyone comes to eat together. So that connection lowers the stress response, which changes the digestion of the ingredients.
Wow.
So when I sit and watch murder shows eating my Yong Tau Fu, no bueno, you know, but that is the condition of modernity. That is the condition of living in a Tokyo, a London, a Singapore. You know, unfortunately, more and more people are living like you live and like I live.
Yeah.
And so bringing that meal to, I love when I go to Switzerland, there's no phones at the table.
Right.
We all eat, we all set the table together, we eat together.
Yeah.
And I think that it's important to go back, and for people who've lost family like me, and don't yet have a family, you have to be mindful to build that. So Sunday night, I go to my girlfriend's house last night and I eat with her family.
Yeah.
And they love the dog. I bring the dog over for the little boys.
Yep.
And because I'm so cognizant of it, we've got to try and inject it in. It's the difference between 15 extra years on your life.
Yeah, I mean, I heard recently about this trend of communal dining spaces where it's like, if you're alone and you're a single in a city, or, you know, you've lost someone, or you just happen to be by yourself that day, you can go to these communal dining spaces and sit with other people and get that connection without actually having to plan it for yourself. And that's happening actually all over Europe. And I hope it comes to Asia one day.
There's a Times Left app that's doing that.
Yeah.
So you can go for, I think every Wednesday night they do a dinner and you can match with conversational partners and people around that. And I think that these are all fantastic things, provided no one in that circle, and this is always the danger, which is why people don't take up these opportunities, that someone triggers you at the table or whatever, right? But that's where it's moving. It's exactly like you said.
Yeah.
A move towards in-person connection experience.
Yeah. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, you know, because you've built your career in quite an unconventional and uncharted way. Like, what advice would you give to someone who's also trying to do that? You know, you mentioned you studied, you actually planned it. From what I understand, you planned it very well.
Shawshank Redemption, Natasha. Shawshank, thug life. Yeah. Create the white energetic field. Like, it's like a shield around me that I cannot tell you the amount of people that had no idea what I was building. And you've gone through this, the stuff that they said to me. In fact, one of them linked in me yesterday after telling me my job title sounded ridiculous, and actually wrote to me yesterday to get my help on something.
Okay.
And I remember crying after getting that email, like how rude it was.
Right.
And yet this person is now asking me for a favor. I did not reply because middle age is about boundaries. Old Simone would have replied with no boundaries. So create the white shield where it just washes off you. It's just the opinion of others. You're committed to your vision. You visualize your vision. I visualized speaking at a Harvard University, at a Google, at all the places that I visualized down to the outfit. Like it all, and I still visualize. I go through bumps too, like you do in business. I go through bumps where I'm cynical or have an existential crisis and think, what am I doing? And or I go through parts where I'm disengaged, but it still beats being someone else's employee times 1,000.
Yeah, amazing. Because I think it's very easy to start with that, I think, excitement and that, you know, I'm going to do this and this and this, but to keep it going after many, many years, that's another story.
Yeah, that's grit, right?
Yeah.
So have you ever taken Angela Duckworth's grit score?
I actually haven't, no.
So my grit score is very, very, very high.
Okay.
And I think that's because of the childhood that I had, which people can read in the book.
Yep.
And that's just my secret weapon. Like I can ground down a project to a nub.
Okay.
Andy Dufresne, Shawshank Redemption.
Okay. And what actually is the lasting impact? If I said, Simone, what is the one thing you want people to remember you by? What would that be?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. You're at the end of your life now. You're 100 years old. What do you want people to remember
that
you
I was
for?
kind and good to people, just like my dad.
I love that. That's great.
All the rest is noise.
Yeah. I have a few questions at the end, quick questions that I ask everyone. So what was your first ice cream memory? Oh my gosh.
Now I'm going to cry even more. Fremantle,
Yeah.
Gelare store, rum and raisin, waffle cone with my dad.
Oh.
It's actually not a great memory. We would do it almost every Sunday. It's actually not a great memory. I ordered a flavor that I didn't like. And after I was like, Dad, I don't like it. He's like, don't waste food. He was like, you're going to eat it. You're going to eat it. Yeah. Like Gelare was expensive for us. Like the normal was like a rainbow paddle pop.
Yep.
You know, but to have a Gelare was.
Yeah, it was a special treat.
And I'm still a massive ice cream fan. If you ask me any dessert, it's ice cream.
It's ice cream.
Yeah, massive.
I'm happy to hear that.
Massive ice cream fan.
What's your favorite snack, or what do you cook for yourself most often, actually?
I absolutely love a $1.50 silken tofu just from the supermarket with hibiki and Chinese pickled cabbage. It is the last affordable healthy food snack in Singapore. And I eat it because I don't eat much red meat. Okay. And I can eat it between meetings, like if I don't have time to cook something. And
you're eating a silky tofu.
It always slaps, Natasha. It slaps every time.
Do you have it cold or do you warm
it up? I have it cold.
You just have
it's
it straight
the Japanese,
from the fridge.
It's like the wobbly one. It's a wobbly one.
Okay.
Yeah. I absolutely love it. I also do like I parboil it first and then I pan fry it with parmesan, but yuca, Japanese sweet potato.
Okay.
Yeah. Not the orange one we grew up with in Australia, but the purple skinny one.
Purple skinned one. Yeah, I know that one. Very sweet.
I love that one. Yep. Sweet, put some butter on it. Tastes like chestnuts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you lick or bite your ice cream?
Oh, I do. They've seen me many times at Birds of Paradise.
Yep.
I have a favorite, which is the lychee. I think it's lychee raspberry.
Yeah.
And I'll always hold the cone with the spoon.
Yep. Oh, you spoon it.
Yeah.
I'm so ladylike.
Really?
You don't go in with
No, I actually don't, but I love that.
Actually, you're the first person who said that they don't lick and they don't bite. They go in with the dainty spoon.
I eat ice cream a lot. So yeah, that is my preferred way.
Yeah, okay. Tell me about one trait you have without which you wouldn't be where you are today.
Oh, I think we've talked grit for sure.
Yeah. What's your definition of grit?
Well, I can give you the Angela Duckworth definition, which is, devotion and perseverance for long-term goals, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my perseverance, once there's something that my brain has correlated is a worthy long-term goal.
Yep.
I think that's also what's really different. It's the grit, but it's the way that I make connections between learning and what I'm doing in the real world.
Yes.
Like I just won't pursue something ridiculous for a long time. Right? But something that's really worthy.
Yeah, I think you put it well, worthy long-term goal. That aligns with like who you are as a person. Right?
Exactly.
And so it becomes more than just like I'm doing this hard thing, but to what end,
But I think that's only me as of like post-therapy.
Okay.
Because if I look at how long I stayed in media when it obviously was not the right fit for me, that was all to do with not making that aligned connection in the mind of why are we doing this when it's obviously, I think even my therapist at one stage was like, why are we still in this job? Like, why are we still doing this? And that's, if you are listening and you ever have those, why am I doing this moments? That is such good emotional information for you. That is an arrow pointing to something you need to investigate that could possibly change the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So my why am I still in this line of work that obviously is not good for my nervous system? Oh, because that chaos in my nervous system is a structure that I'm used to from my childhood. Okay. So this push and pull and not being calm feels normal to me, even though it's not good for me.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's your comfort zone.
that was my comfort zone. And so I now have a different nervous system. It's kind of wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I actually never thought about it like that before.
So I was in a trauma bond, not with a man, but with my line of work.
Your own, and your own nervous system.
Yeah.
What's something that you used to believe about yourself or the world that you've since outgrown?
I really was raised by group of women in this community that could not be happy for other women.
Okay.
And, you had to be the prettiest or the whatever, like, Asian community immigration issues, really. This is like the worst.
Yeah.
And I completely rewired that. And the expansiveness of the heart when you cheer on your friends and you're super happy for them.
Yeah.
Like people ask me all the time, Simone, like, how do you get all these opportunities? I was like, you should see the amount of opportunities I'm given in the back end of the email, right?
Yeah,
so you're just seeing what comes to me as a result of like, give with that open heart, give to male, give to female, be happy for everyone. Because guess what? The whole world is happier. There's more peace.
Yes.
So just be happy for everyone. Just because they're doing something you don't like, who cares? Who cares? It's not about you. It's not affecting you. So that Asian immigrant, like, she is this, but she's not so pretty. All that scrubbed out of my vocabulary, changed my life. This is 6 years ago, 7 years ago now. Changed my life.
And you're just a much happier person.
I am. And now I can do what my body's natural response always is like, Natasha, you are so stunning. I came in, I was like, your face.
I know, I should talk to you more.
No, but it's true. And so now there's a lot of the trauma's been unblocked. So my natural aligned voice comes out of my mouth to say exactly what I'm feeling. And that's
amazing.
That's a really amazing
and you
feeling.
Can live your truth, right?
Exactly.
Because
in alignment. And people, they feel that glow and that authenticity.
Yeah.
I hate that word, by the way, but I'm just going to use it. And then they magnetize towards you and all the opportunities come towards you because you're living in alignment, which makes you more predictable for people. They feel like, oh, I know she's going to show up consistently so I can trust her. And that builds connection and community too.
It's a positive cycle.
It's a positive cycle, exactly.
Yeah. What's a piece of advice that changed your life?
Oh, Simone, sometimes it's better to just listen. So the masking I talked about earlier in the podcast when I was young, and I learned that, if I made a lot of noise, I would look confident, even though I felt like total piece of shit inside. And so when I first came to Asia in 2005, I did that. I filled the space and I did not ask questions of others. And my nervous system, was up here.
Yeah.
And I was really lucky. I had a mentor who just sat me down and said, Simone, sometimes you'll learn more from listening than talking. That changed my world.
Yeah.
So by the time I went to Dubai, I was still not where I am now, but I had learned to listen to not just what is being said, but the meaning between the lines.
Okay.
Right. And we have that even in email in Asia. When the client says to you, Natasha, we're going in a different direction.
Yes.
There's some sort of meaning in between the lines, right? And that's my secret weapon because everyone assumes if they look at me on socials, it's always of me talking. That's what we call marketing people. They're like, I'm a speaker, so I got to speak in my stuff.
Yeah.
But they don't actually realize I've worked really hard on my listening skills. I've read all the books.
Okay.
I practice active listening. And I don't feel I need to speak. If we're in a podcast, you want me to speak, I'll speak.
Yes.
But if I'm in a bus with 40 people and we're driving around Africa, which I just did, I have no need to make noise for the sake of like making noise. And I'm observing and listening during those times. So that was great advice.
Yeah. People do forget that that's half or maybe even more than half of communicating. It's not the speaking of it. It's the listening and watching for cues for what the other person is feeling and what they might be going through. Yeah.
You're an incredible listener.
Oh, thank you.
I can tell.
Thank you.
That's an introvert.
Yeah, I'm very much an introvert. And I was very much like, as a kid, just observing. So like I didn't speak at school, but I was listening to everything.
Yeah, you absorb.
So that's.
Are your kids the same?
Oh, one is more like me, and then one is a total extrovert. I don't know where that came from.
Is your hubby also introverted?
Yeah, he's probably even more introverted than I am. So, but yeah, one of our kids is more like us, and one is just the total opposite. And we're trying to figure out where that came from and how to parent.
They're miraculous because they all have their own soul. And I even feel that way about viewing the new dogs to be the brother to Alex, my dog.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
well, they get
could I clone Alex so I could get his personality again?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I had a really great time.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and for being so open about your experiences and your personal journey as well.
It's out there in print, lady. There's no point. Can't take it back now. But thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. If you enjoyed listening to Soul Food, please give us a 5-star rating, subscribe, or share an episode with your friends. It helps us grow so we can continue bringing you thoughtful conversations. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today.